Did you see this Daily Beast story on Tulsi Gabbard? I couldn't tell if this was like a public relations thing or it was from the Daily Beast or like a super PAC ad. Did you see this? Tulsi Gabbard, his campaign is being boosted by Putin apologists. Like, did did Keith Olbermann or Rachel Maddow like hack into the DNC, the Daily Beast system and take over? I'm not even going to read the whole thing. This is from Lachlan Markey and Sam Stein. Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard's campaign for the Democratic presidential nomination is being underwritten by some of the nation's leading Russiophiles. Some of the nation's leading Russiophiles. Donors to her campaign in the first quarter of this year include Stephen F. Cohen, a Russian studies professor at New York University and a prominent Kremlin sympathizer, Sharon Tennyson, a vocal Putin supporter who nonetheless found herself detained by Russian authorities in 2016, and an employee of the Kremlin-backed broadcaster RT, who appears to have donated under the alias Goofy Grapes. First of all, Stephen Cohen, he's a Russian scholar. He's one of the foremost experts on Russia in the United States. He has written for The Nation and other places. He's not some Joe Schmo Kremlin sympathizer. He's somebody that, unlike the Daily Beast, unlike a lot of the people at MSNBC, unlike the Washington Post, actually understands how Russian politics works, actually understands a lot about Putin, because there has been a lot of propaganda in America about Russia. I don't think Putin's a great guy. I think he is pretty brutal, but so is most of the leaders we're against. Most of the leaders we support around the world. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, ring a bell? From Saudi Arabia. We were friends with Saddam Hussein before we were enemies. How about brutal dictators in Iran we've supported after overthrowing democratically elected ones? Supporting the Contras and those brutal death squads to butcher the Nicaraguan people. Ring a bell? So we're down with, brutal, shall we say, American puppets, if they'll give us their oil, their gold, minerals, and so on and so on. If they won't, well, it's enemy of the state, terrible person, brutal dictator, humanitarian crisis under them. The ones that do give us their stuff, well, it's in our geopolitical strategic interest to be tight with Saudi Arabia while they butcher Yemen. You noticing a trend here? But I couldn't believe, obviously the Daily Beast is as establishment as they get, but I couldn't believe this. And they're writing it like this is some profound trend. It's 3 people that have donated. She's gotten 75,000 individual donors. She will be on that debate stage. So they found 3 people, an RT employee, and by the way, sorry to tell Daily Beast and others, RT America, aside from Status Coup, and yes, I will say Status Coup is the preeminent reporting voice on Flint. RT America has done a lot of good stuff on the Flint water crisis while the rest of the media does nothing. RT America has done a lot of good stuff on stories like Standing Rock and water contamination and local corruption. So if that makes me a Kremlin puppet or stooge, then so be it. You got to call out good journalism where it is. And it's not coming from CNN or the Daily Beast. The Daily Beast, I've sent them story after story. You cannot get the Daily Beast to cover something if it's not Trump related or Russia related. That's it. It's all about clicks and all about sensationalism. Period. End of story. And remember to press the like button if you have not yet. So, Gabbard is one of her party's more Russia-friendly voices in an era of deep democratic suspicion of the country over its effort to tip the 2016 election in favor of President Donald Trump. I love how they write, in an era of deep democratic suspicion, like this is suddenly a new thing. The United States propaganda against the Soviet Union and then Russia has been going on since the 1940s. But we're suddenly in a new era of this? And tipping the election? Come on, give me a break. Have these people read the exit polls in Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, and Pennsylvania? It's like they act like, Putin was standing with a crowbar in the voting booths with these people. Her financial support from prominent pro-Russian voices in the U.S. is a small portion of the total she raised, but it still illustrates the degree to which she deviates from her party's mainstream on such a contentious and high-profile issue. Well, actually, no. See, the Daily Beast is trying to paint it as they like her because she's pro-Russian. No. They like her because she's anti-Cold War with Russia. She's anti-nuclear war with Russia. Does that make sense? Or are we all puppets who are anti-war? I know YouTube thinks we're puppets because if you do anything anti-war, promise you this video will be suppressed and probably demonetized because I'm talking about Tulsi Gabbard and I'm talking about not wanting to go to war with YouTube. It extends everywhere. Corporate media, social media, they get rid of anti-war voices. They get rid of people who, aren't foaming at the mouth about Russia, aren't foaming at the mouth. Yeah, Juan Guaido in Venezuela. Let's elect the Democratic leader, Juan Guaido. No, let's not. He's not the Democratic leader. And we'll have more on Venezuela tomorrow. But it's really unbelievable. It's really unbelievable to me that the Daily Beast would write this. And for what real reason? That's what also doesn't make sense. Because obviously they have an agenda writing this. Obviously they were looking through her donors to find out. It's not like this fell in their lap. You have to look through the donor information. Well, why exactly? Because, in fairness, I like Tulsi Gabbard. We've interviewed her. She's not doing swell in the polls. A big reason of that is because of stories like this, because CNN has smeared her, MSNBC has smeared her, The View has smeared her, she's a Putin apologist, this and that. So they basically have done the Bernie blackout to her, but after smearing her, then it was a blackout. So it's not, do they see her as a threat based on seeing a lot of support for her on Twitter and Facebook, and she has the support of a lot of independent media watchers? Like, you got to find someone a little bit of a threat or try to smear them even more before she goes on the Democratic debate stage so that it minimizes potentially her getting some momentum. That's the only reason I could think for doing this. I mean, I don't agree with every single thing in Tulsi Gabbard's record, but I do agree. Other than Bernie Sanders, I like her the best out of any candidate. I think she's more to the left than Bernie Sanders on foreign policy. I like the fact I'm not a war hawk, but I do respect somebody who's actually served in these pointless wars, because maybe we should listen to them and get their insight, their perspective. Maybe they'd have a little bit more reasoned thought on whether we should go to war or topple other governments based on seeing up close what the actual effects of that are on American soldiers, on Muslim people around the world, on the families of American soldiers that suffer the consequences after. But the Daily Beast, the article was missing any context in that. So what's interesting, data on Gabbard's financial supporters only covers the first 3 months of the year. In that time, her campaign received just over $1,000 from Cohen, arguably the nation's leading intellectual apologist for Russian President Vladimir Putin. I love how she got $1,000 from this guy, $1,000 from a Russian scholar. To them, a Putin apologist or whatever. But Hawaiian Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard's campaign for the Democratic presidential nomination is being underwritten by some of the nation's leading Russophiles. So underwritten would give off the impression that most of her campaign money is coming from pro-Russia or sympathetic to Russia donors. So you think Tulsi Gabbard is traveling from New Hampshire to Iowa, to South Carolina, back to New Hampshire, back to Iowa, and round she goes on Stephen Cohen's $1,000 donation, or whatever the amount is that she got from an RT employee? She got $1,000 from Goofy Grapes, who apparently, I think, works for comedian, as an employee. Who listed his or her occupation as comedian and employer as Redacted Tonight, as current events comedy show on Russian state-backed broadcaster RT. So basically, it seems that person works on Lee Camp's show, Redacted Tonight. Oh my Lord. Somebody from Redacted Tonight is donating $1,000 to Tulsi Gabbard. Oh my God, Lee Camp, that Kremlin apologist on RT who, exposes the surveillance state, exposes, the awful things going on with oil pipelines and fossil fuel companies destroying the country and big agricultural companies destroying the country, and was on the forefront in 2016, exposing the DNC rigging the primary. Oh, what a Kremlin apologist. Game over. Somebody from RT working for a comedian gave to Tulsi Gabbard. She's clearly out of control, this Tulsi Gabbard. We can't have it. I'm not going to read you anymore because it's absurd. But the point is, it's not a coincidence you're seeing hit pieces on Bernie Sanders and you're seeing hit pieces on Tulsi Gabbard. They're obviously trying to eliminate these people now so they could prop up Joe Biden, so they could prop up Kamala Harris. Maybe Beto O'Rourke gets a second act. He did his little town hall with CNN last night where he did his best Hillary Clinton impersonation. Hillary Clinton said in 2016, I was there at that event, Medicare for all will never, ever come to pass. We don't have the time to try for some theoretical debate on something that will never, ever come to pass. Well, Beto O'Rourke last night said, I don't think the people who need healthcare have time to find something perfect. Way to inspire, Beto. Inspire your corporate donors, but not progressive voters. Not even progressive voters, just voters. Polls say a majority of Republicans support Medicare for all.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.